When something goes wrong at work, a project misses its deadline, a piece of equipment gets damaged, someone gets hurt, what is our first gut reaction? Well, for most of us, it's to figure out who messed up, right? We go on this hunt for the human error, for that single point of failure. But what if that entire approach is just wrong? What if our obsession with failure is actually blinding us to the secrets of success? Okay, let's really dive into this. And yeah, this quote, it just nails it. It's the core of how we've always thought about this stuff. We operate in a find and fix mode. We see an outcome we don't like, and boom, we immediately start looking for the broken part, whether that's a piece of machinery or a person who didn't follow the rules. It's an almost automatic knee-jerk response. And that automatic response, well, it leads us directly into what we can call the blame game. So in this first part, we're going to break down why this is our default setting and really explore the hidden costs of constantly looking for someone to point the finger at. This question feels so natural, but it's actually a bit of a cognitive trap. Psychologists have a name for it, the fundamental attribution error. It's basically our built-in tendency to overemphasize personal blame and pretty much ignore all the situational factors. So we blame a person's character, they were careless, they weren't paying attention, instead of asking the more important questions like, what kind of pressures were they under? What constraints were they dealing with? We look for a culprit, not the context. Now, check out this number on the screen, 9,999. What on earth is that about? Well, get this. Research shows that for every one time something goes wrong, there are 9,999 times that it goes right. And yet, which one do we spend all our time and energy investigating? Yep, the single failure. We do these exhaustive postmortems on the one tiny error while completely ignoring this vast, massive ocean of success. We are literally missing 99.99% of the data. So if studying failure is only giving us a tiny, distorted piece of the puzzle, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to a really crucial shift in thinking, which we're going to explore right now. A tale of two safeties. This is a whole new way of looking at how we approach our work. First up, there's safety eye. This is the world most of us live in. Its whole definition of safety is just the absence of bad stuff. You're successful if you just don't fail. It's fundamentally reactive. It's like we wait for something to break, for an accident to happen, and then we react trying to make sure it never ever happens again. But now, let's look at safety 2. This is a complete 180. Here, safety is defined as the presence of positives. It's the ability to succeed even when things are challenging, unpredictable, and messy. The goal isn't just to stop things from going wrong, it's to actually understand what makes things go right so we can do more of it. It's all about being proactive. This table just lays it all out perfectly. Where safety I is reactive, safety 2 is proactive. Now look at the view of humans. In safety I, people are seen as a liability, a source of error we need to control. But in safety 2, humans are the star players. They're the key resource, the source of resilience and adaptability that actually makes the system work. And get this last one, the cause of accidents. In safety I, it's a failure. In safety 2, it's the exact same thing that causes success, everyday performance variability. Okay, to really get our heads around that last point about performance variability, we have to talk about the reality of our jobs. And that brings us to our next section, where we'll explore this massive difference between how we imagine work and the reality of work as done. Every single organization has work as imagined. You know what I'm talking about. It's that neat and tidy world you see in the procedure manuals, the flowcharts, the rules, where everything just works perfectly. But then there's work as done, and that is the messy, complex, unpredictable reality of trying to get the job done when you're faced with real-world problems. And there is always a gap between the two. So what bridges that gap? Performance variability. This is so important. All those constant little adjustments, adaptations, and judgment calls that people make every single day, that's not a sign that they're breaking the rules or making errors. That adaptability is the very reason things work. People aren't just following a script. They are actively, constantly making the system successful. So why is work as imagined so often just impossible? Well, because of the real world. Maybe there's not enough time. The right tool isn't where it's supposed to be. A key person called in sick. The procedure is 10 years old and doesn't even match the new equipment. And you've got leadership pushing to get things done faster. People have to adapt to these conditions just to get the task done. This quote comes from a real truck driver named Kate, and it's heartbreaking. She arrived at a delivery site to find the entrance gate totally blocked by some huge equipment. So, A site engineer told her to just back her truck in through the exit gate instead, which was a clear violation of the one-way traffic rule. She adapted to a real-world problem to get the job done. But this quote, it just perfectly captures her fear. The very helpfulness that solved the problem for everyone could now get her punished. So, if adaptation is normal, and if the helpfulness of people like Kate is what actually makes things work, how do we shift our entire approach? Well, that's what our next part is all about, moving away from policing failures and toward proactively learning from normal work. The foundation, the absolute bedrock of all of this, is psychological safety. It's an environment where people feel safe enough to speak up, safe enough to talk about the challenges they face, the shortcuts they have to take, the near misses they experience, and yeah, even the mistakes they make, all without the fear of blame or punishment. If you don't have this, you can't learn a single thing. And hey, there are really practical tools to help build this. One is called the Walk-Through Talk-Through, or WTT. Now, this is not a behavioral observation where some manager is standing over your shoulder with a clipboard watching for mistakes. No way. It's a genuine dialogue. You go to the person doing the work and you ask real questions like, hey, what makes this step so difficult? Or what part of this could a new person find confusing? You're not looking for blame, you're looking for insight. You know, this proactive approach, it goes beyond just the physical work. Creating real safety means caring for the whole person. Simple things like noticing if a colleague seems distressed and just asking, hey, how have you been doing lately? Or really listening without jumping in to offer a quick fix. These actions build the trust and the empathy that psychological safety absolutely depends on. And this brings us to our final and maybe the most important shift in mindset. To truly learn from our work and create safety, we have to completely reframe our understanding of a keyword. We have to move from blame to accountability. We use these words like they're the same thing all the time, but they are polar opposites. Culpability, or blame, is backward-looking. It asks, whose fault is this? And that pressure, it always moves down the org chart. But true accountability, that's forward-looking. It asks, what can we learn from this to get better? And that responsibility to create a safer system, that moves up the organization. Because here's the truth. There is never, ever just one person who caused an incident. Think back to Kate's story. It wasn't just her decision, right? It was the site engineer who gave her the order, the manager who knew about the blocked gates but never fixed the problem, the corporate director who rejected the budget to expand the site, and the company that gave her a truck without modern sensors. Incidents are always the result of system factors. So the crucial point is this. True accountability is not about accepting punishment. It's about being able to give a full and honest account of what happened from your perspective, sharing the challenges and the pressures you were facing. It's a collective act of transparency aimed at just one thing: learning together so we can build a safer, more resilient future for everyone. Which brings us to the final question, and this one's for you. After seeing this totally different way of looking at safety, at error, and at success, what will you do differently? The next time something goes wrong, how will you shift your focus from finding fault to actually understanding success? The change starts by asking a different set of questions.